Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special Saturday edition here of COVID Sessions here in Rosemead. I'm here with my boy E. What's up, E? Woo, woo! We're here in the house producing our streamcast. My man's coming back on Tuesday with Everyday Faith. His guest is going to be amazing. We'll give you some more detail on that later. But today's show is a special Saturday show. As many of you know now, COVID Sessions is only down to 3 days a week. Producing this is very, very hard. But not just hard because of our work, hard because we want to have fresh content, good information, and have a straight positive attitude in everything that we do here in regards to COVID sessions and also everyday faith that's been a part of this from the beginning. But COVID sessions and all this got started because we've been hit with the pandemic. The coronavirus is something that many of us don't even know about and that we're actually all learning about. But today's episode is amazing because we have an infectious disease doctor that I know personally on a personal level because we've danced. She's an amazing dancer. She was a part of a dance company that I was a part of. Such an amazing person. I know she was a doctor. I didn't know her specifics. What's up, Giovanni? But then I found out her specifics recently, which was even more like, wow, in regards to what is happening now. So we're going to have this young lady up in a second too. Today, after the interview, we're going to have a premiere of our first segment that is called Getting Schooled by a High Schooler. It's going to be one of the segments we're going to start bringing you now in the future. More comedy, more art, more entertainment. So that's going to be amazing too. But without further ado, let's get started and bring out Mrs. Gisela Rosario, MD.
Hello, everyone.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hola.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How's everyone?
Everyone is doing well. Everyone is doing well. And you're looking all nice, huh? It's about time you get dressed up,
I get dressed up. I don't do that often now in the hospital.
or in general, right?
In general, cover my face.
Well, of course, right? This I don't think I mean I look cute right now, but I'm wearing shorts underneath. So don't get all excited. Don't get all like, "Whoa, he looks so cute." Nah, he's wearing shorts too. Because everything changed. Gisela is an amazing dancer, ladies and gentlemen. Tell us a bit about your background because I know you're from the island. So let us know a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Puerto Rico. So I was there until I was age 26. I did all my school in Puerto Rico, my med school, and then I moved to Pennsylvania, Allentown, Pennsylvania, for 3 years to do my internal medicine. And then in LA, I've been now 5 years. I moved here to do my infectious disease training, UCLA and Cedars-Sinai training. And I'm done with that. And now I've been working full-time as a full-time infectious disease doctor for the last 3 years.
And you know what? I know you're a doctor. We've been in the dance group for a while, but I had no idea you did all this. You know, Memo was like, "She's a doctor." I was, well, "What kind?" And he was like, "Just one of those doctors." I was like, "Oh my god."
Yes, it's been something else, be something different for sure.
Well, of course, right? Nobody expected none of this to happen. Nobody expected such a change. But, you know, it is what it is and where we're at now. But it's so enlightening to hear that. I mean, we're in our chat groups. We talk, and I know you're always busy. But again, it didn't really struck me that you're in the infectious disease. You know, this is all you. This is pertaining to everything that you do as a medical person. So I was just like, wow, this is going to be cool.
Yes.
So tell us, what is your daily life like first, before we get into particulars? What's it like for you?
So right now, COVID life.
Frontline, what's that like?
Yeah, so it's been very intense. It's been very overwhelming. They're definitely spending a lot of hours in the hospital. So at the beginning, at the beginning, there was a lot of uncertainty, which is I think there still is, but and we didn't know. No one have experienced this. No one in the hospitals, not even in the older doctors, or no one. This is something completely new. So at some point, it was just everything was every single patient we were seeing was COVID. Patients were not even wanting to go to the hospital. So actually, the hospitals were empty, quoted, because the rest of the patients would not go to the hospital. I was asking, where are the heart attacks? Where are all the other things we typically see? We didn't see it for 1 month or two. And now it's started to become, non-COVID, and then but still seeing back the COVID patients again, the rise. So, my
Wow.
days lately has been very long, like 12, 16 hours. And
Damn.
it's been getting better in the sense that, when we have now more things that we know what to do for the patients, like, and we feel like, their patients are, we're we're able to treat them, and there's more people surviving. But at first, that first wave, that it was mainly like older patients, we see so many people
Wow.
dying, and we were not able to do much. And it was definitely a big toll for everyone. And the issue of not having all the necessary, like, PPE, the mask.
PPP.
So, like, it was definitely very stressful, but still very busy. I'm still seeing a lot of COVID.
How many patients are you
Unfortunately,
seeing? How many patients are you seeing a day with this?
so it really depends of, I go to different hospitals, so it kind of changes depending of, like, the demographic of the hospital. But the hospitals that we go, that are mainly on East LA, Monterrey, Montebello, we're seeing a lot of COVID there. Like, we're seeing like
One
10,
of one of the
20.
students, well, somebody's asking right here, how can you convince their stupid friends that hospitals are not faking the COVID deaths? Because that's a conspiracy theory, right? That it says
Yeah.
hospitals is faking these things, which I know is nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, when you're there and you're seeing these patients that are having such a hard time breathing, and nothing seems to work, like, I mean, there's no way you can fake that. Uh, I think,
Wow.
it's definitely, people says, like, it's like another flu. Like, no, like, I see the flu every year, and I never seen this many patients that this, as sick, and they will not, they continue to getting worse despite of, like, what you're doing. So, like, I mean, I think, like, anyone that lives, like, works in the hospital has seen firsthand, like, this is not, it's not fake.
This
This
is
is
not
a
the
real,
flu, basically,
yeah,
right?
it's a real
Fucking
disease.
pendejos and shit.
Yeah.
I swear to God, when I hear that, sometimes it's really hard to understand. So let's get into the questions. My first question to you, since many of us are basically saying that this is like the flu, because none of us really know how this virus functions. So maybe you can break that down a little bit for us so we can understand. And I guess don't get too medical termy, because everyone's gonna be like, "Huh? ¿Qué es
Yeah.
eso?" So,
Yeah, so we know it's respiratory virus. The thing about this is that we know that it affects more, like, there's a common denominator, like, obviously, like, people that are, like, older, but even in young people that we see that affect, like, we see, like, there's a common denominator of, like, having either obesity, of high blood pressure, high cholesterol. And there's a lot of, in the United States, our lifestyles and our diet, that we
yeah.
have, like, that common factor. So even seeing patients that are young, lately I've been seeing patients in their 20s and their 30s,
No
healthy,
way.
quote unquote healthy, but it's healthy because they haven't been in a doctor's for years, but they have obesity, or they're overweight, or they may be mildly diabetic or pre-diabetic. So all
Whoa.
those things, like, make you more susceptible to have, a more serious illness. uh, and like I said, like, every year I see the flu, but maybe, like, I see, every year maybe I see like 20, 30 patients on the flu. Like, I've been seeing probably over 200 patients, and they don't get, like, the flu. Usually you get a more quicker recovery, but these patients, there's so long time of, like, they may requiring high oxygen for weeks, and then even though, like, when they get
Wow.
better, there's not completely back to baseline. So it does causes more damage to the lungs, more lasting damage, we think, than someone with the flu. And the other thing is, like,
Wow.
it's very unpredictable. Some people get sicker, some people not as much. So definitely there's some factors, like I mentioned, like the age, and if you have other comorbidities. But there's some
Right.
people, they're thinking maybe there's something else that they quite had not identified at this point, like maybe some genetic, why why some people get worse, and maybe not as,
Right.
maybe younger or less sick, or like are not
So
as
now
sick.
you mentioned younger people. So there is a person where we're starting to see this affecting kids too. You even get negative results, Kawasaki stuff like that. Explain to us what this is doing to younger people? Because everyone, it's funny you just said you're seeing 20 and 30-year-old patients, and I've even heard there's children getting this now. Is there something that maybe we should know in that angle too?
Yeah. So, thankfully, kids still seem not to be affected as much. I mean, lately there have been maybe some few, cases that children have been going to the hospital. Not, it's still very, very rare. But yeah, there's this description that it was mentioned that they saw it, mainly when it was the higher months in New York, that is similar to a Kawasaki illness. So Kawasaki
Right,
illness is basically it's something that affects the vessels and cause inflammation. It's thought to be a virus. This one is not
right,
Kawasaki. It's something like similar. It's basically they have seen it. It's still very rare. I think like up to May 2020, there were like 100 cases in New York. There had been few cases here in California. I think probably less than 10. So it's like your body produces like a inflammatory reaction, and
got
kids,
it.
it could be either when they have the illness, or it could be they got it and then they develop it afterwards. So it's thought to be like maybe there's a dysregulation to your immune system, and it can affect their lungs, their heart, kidneys,
Right,
even their brain, and it manifested with fevers. They can have abdominal pain, and they usually have like inflammatory markers that are high. It's still pretty, doesn't know much about it, and it's still very rare, but there's that correlation. So like, even though thankfully most
wow,
kids may not be affected as much, but there has been this report that is still rare, but it's called MSIC. It's multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. So that's like what they say, like
wow.
a similarity with the Kawasaki.
So let me ask you a question in regards to children now that is also dealing with the school reopenings. Are children big spreaders of this if things go back into normal? Or is the problem with schooling going to be more based off of the teachers, the closeness of it? You as a doctor, what is your recommendations for, you know, kids, school? Should they be going back? Should we be waiting more? What is the
Yeah.
precaution there?
Yeah, it's definitely, definitely a lot of, debate lately about it. And then, you had the 2 points, like, definitely, the children like learn better in school, but there's some logics, that he has to be put in place. Like definitely, it's hard to keep, children in one place or wearing a mask,
Right,
keeping
right,
distance. And definitely you need so much more staff to be able to like follow all the guidelines. And then the reality is our schools, a lot of them doesn't have the resources. And then like it's definitely a concern of like the teachers, the staff, they're already like underpaid. And they potentially, they could be like spreading, like I said, like most of the kids may not have as much symptoms, but they
right,
can still spread it. And I don't, as long as there may be like a pretty like defined plan and like well enough space.
strategy,
Yeah,
basically.
strategy, which the reality is like a lot of places don't have that, and a lot of schools don't have the funds. So
Right.
I think it's what I seen like this whole pandemic has brought is that it has shown all the deficits that in all aspects of our society, like all the deficits that are were
Oh
hidden, like we know they were
yeah.
there, now they're completely.
Te dio la vuelta y te puso en el culo ahí nomás.
Yeah.
¡Pah! It
They were
really
completely, yeah,
it
completely
did.
exposed.
It
Yeah, so
exposed the American healthcare system, educational system, wealth gaps, everything from
yeah,
platforms
sadly,
of it
sadly.
has exposed everything. And even now, this is a great relation into our next topic. Something that is so simple that other countries are doing amazing with. And instead of talking about it, let me just show you. Mask.
Yes,
All right.
that's a nice one.
All right, I got a custom made. If you want some custom
Nice.
mask, let me know. Okay, but look, something as simple as a mask. You, as an infectious disease doctor, I'm pretty sure you wear this or a form of this, probably the better one, right? You wear that KN95,
Yeah,
man. And do you have the screen over your face
I
too?
had the face gel too.
Damn. Okay.
I
So
gear all
all
over.
geared out with the gloves and everything too, right?
Yes,
Like a
double
ninja,
glove,
like
hair cap. But I mean,
Damn.
obviously, people that are in the hospital, you're dealing with people that are infected. So, and you get very close to them. So, like,
Right.
definitely in the hospital setting, like, is the highest, level of protection because you're dealing with secretions and like, but
Everything, yeah.
yeah, it's very sad what's happening in the United States. Like something as simple, like as a mass, it has become a political issue. It has become like
Yes.
nothing based on science at all. Uh,
And you
so
wear this what? How many hours a day do you have this on every day? How many hours are you wearing this? 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, every time
Damn.
the whole time that I'm in the hospital, um, I think I lost him.
Sorry. Sorry, my phone fell.
Okay, you're
My stupid mask.
you
Okay.
got very excited.
Because this issue is one of the worst ones that I
Yeah,
think is
definitely.
holding back the progression
Yeah,
to get out of it. Because most people don't understand that the major things for these shutdowns and why we're doing this is to ease the pressure that the healthcare industry is dealing with. And this is the part that I'm laughing at because instead of this being a precautionary thing, it's a right for them. It's a
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Well, someone like you, that your right is to basically do as you please, and you're helping people, but I don't think they're helping the cause. So you heard of people. She wears these up to 10 hours a day with the face. I don't have a face shield, so I have a question for you: is the face shield by itself good enough in comparison to a mask and a face shield?
yeah. I mean, the face shield really is to protect, your eyes for like any like, if the patient's like coughing up or spitting, any particles get into your eye. It doesn't replace the mask. I think a lot of people they think it replaces the mask. No,
It
because
doesn't, right?
the mask, is to prevent your all particles to come out. That's basically that what we use in the mask, right? Like, the masks that we use in the hospitals, the N95, they protect you not to get all these particles. The regular mask that you do like doesn't protect you as much because it's not designed for that. But the idea is like if everyone wears a mask, then
Right.
their particles don't they're not in the environment infecting other people because like we know there's a lot of people that doesn't have symptoms or may have very mild symptoms, so we don't know who has it or not, and the mask is like, okay, if you keep your particles you don't infect. But yeah, the face shields is mainly for settings that you spend like you're going to be in very close proximity and any of those like particles will maybe get into your eyes and um but
So
yeah, it doesn't
it's good to
replace.
have both. The other day I saw a man who just had the face shield, but he didn't have the mask on, and
Yeah,
I'm like, I think he's half-assing it right there. I think he needs both of them. So
yeah, yeah. And then I wouldn't recommend people outside to be wearing a face shield. Like it's not really needed, because like I said, if you it's a setting, it's mainly for the hospital setting. The face shield, like if you're going to be in, very close proximity to someone that maybe be coughing or,
do
uh,
patients have to wear a mask when they're in the hospital? I've never actually asked that
yeah.
question,
So
but
now,
this
so
is a great
actually,
question.
that's the single best thing. Like if someone has it, the best way to protect everyone is if the patient has it because you don't allow them to spit
Particles are coming out.
particles. Yeah, so yeah, now it's become like everyone in the hospital, yeah, every the patients, even the patient
Damn.
that they don't have it, but it's just like
Just in
now it
case.
become everyone like a standard practice, you have to be wearing your mask.
Damn. See, look, here's where when you're logical and you understand these things. So like, and then we get this sentiment of not having a reason why to wear a mask. You should wear a mask, and then you hear this people say that it messes up their breathing and they can't do this, and then you're listening to a health person like yourself who wears a mask for 10 hours. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I don't.
it's
Yeah,
just
I don't
sad.
understand. I mean, like surgeons, we've seen surgeons they wear a mask, for every surgery, right? It's so common. Like you see, you can see like Grey's Anatomy. You see the surgeons on the OR, and there sometimes are operating for like 10, 12 hours,
Wow.
and then why, they don't get short of breath. They're not like, do you see them like they pass out like after 10 hours of surgery?
That's
Maybe they pass out
insane.
like exhausting or dehydration, but not, it's not because of the, they can breathe. It doesn't,
Right.
I hear these people like, oh my, my doctor said I couldn't wear, like, it doesn't.
That's so
Would not
stupid.
suffocate. I mean, people have been done it. Like surgeons do it all the time. They wear a mask when they do surgery, and it's to protect
Right.
you. It's the same logic. Like you don't want them to contaminate. When they're doing surgery on you. So it's kind of like similar in that regard. Like you don't want to contaminate other people.
Okay, okay. Now let's move on to the next question. My next question is basically based off of this. Now, moving forward, we know now that we have to deal with a lot here in America, and you're in the front lines dealing with this. So, what are our chances now of reaching immunity? And also, is our only way out of this a vaccine? What do you see that should? What do you recommend that our game plan should be for this? You're dealing with this quite a bit. What is our next factor to focus on? Because I now people are talking about vaccinations. A lot of companies are already bringing this out. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, the concept of the herd immunity is that enough people in the population will have it and will have antibodies that will protect them not to have the disease and not to spread it. But in order to get to that point, around like 70% of the population has to have it. And I mean, we cannot sustain that. We cannot sustain our health
All
system
those
will
people
not.
are going. There's a lot of death
And
going
there's
into
a
that
lot of people who
direction,
go. And
right?
right now, it's not even close to that. It's like a very small percent, population wise, people get infected. And, we're seeing how many cases, how many deaths. So definitely, I think the vaccine is definitely, the game will be the game changer. And I know, there's at least like 4 different companies. And, some of them are like in the third stages, and that it seems like they're getting like good resources, good results, and like seems to be safe. So I think there's a lot of hope that maybe for the at the beginning of next year, maybe
Hopefully.
hopefully there will be a vaccine. And but it only works if people gets vaccinated, because we have a flu shot, and every year like we have also many flu cases and many flu deaths. And but a lot of people don't take it. There's also a lot of like concern with vaccines, and a lot of conspiracy theories about it. So like it's only going to work
That's
if people agree
actually
to
trust
take
it.
it. Yeah.
They actually think it's going to benefit them because now even getting the vaccine is political. So, so one of the other questions I wanted to ask you, and the young man is asking about this too, is antibodies. You're hearing more studies that antibodies disappear. You're more susceptible to getting this after a couple months. That there's even chances that you can get COVID twice. What do you know about that?
Yeah. So yeah, there's still a lot of investigation about that. It's not very clear, how long the antibodies will last, how long you will, you know, have immunity for. So there's a lot of, I mean, at this point, we still have a lot of like more questions than answers. But yeah, they have seen that, maybe in patients that had milder cases, maybe, they have seen maybe the antibody response has disappeared, and those that have maybe more profound illness, that produce a more profound immune response, those antibodies seems to be lasting for longer.
Oh
But
wow!
yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. Can you get it again? Maybe. I mean, like the other family members of the coronavirus, because coronavirus has a lot of
Right, there's a
different,
lot of them. I
you
don't know
know,
much of that, but yeah, you're right. You're
yeah,
right.
you don't get like some of them. You can get multiple times because the immunity doesn't last as long. Um, so but I hope I hope we just will be able to, once you get it and remain the immunity, and maybe the vaccine will provide, or could be something at least a year will be good, because then you can do something like the flu, maybe getting, some way getting a yearly vaccine. But I think that they still have a lot of like studies and investigations going on, because it's still not
Right.
clear.
Yeah, I was reading something today about T cells and people who have survived have high count of T cells or something like that, and that they're learning this and this is amazing. People also. So again, a lot of unknowns, a lot of study that's going on. But people, you're hearing this now from someone who is dealing with this in the front line stages. So, I mean, I want to thank you. That information that you've been giving us is amazing. This is her Instagram, guys. So if you guys want to check out her Instagram, you can go on her post. She has amazing social media. You can check out what she's doing. So, I mean, give us a little final wow because we are done with the portion of you. I want to thank you so much for telling us everything, giving us some of your time. This is a Saturday night for it's our only day off, right? Then you gotta go
Yeah,
back to work.
back tomorrow to the
Damn,
hospital.
work, and doing this so much. I
Yeah,
mean,
so I think we just had to regroup. I mean, I know we all tired. We all like
pandemic
I'll sit
fatigue.
here. We don't want to hear anymore. But this is like a cycle, right? Like if we forget and we go crazy, it's not gonna end. We're not gonna. So I think like you know, take a break and yeah, take a break. But I think we had to be cautious and like follow the recommendations. Wear your mask, like try to like avoid big gatherings and like
Right.
and do things to get like I said self-care do things outside. It's we were very immersed at the beginning and it was very overwhelming and it still
Tony's
is,
right there, Gisela.
but I
That's
think
awesome.
everyone can do I can do their part, and we're all here together, and reach out to someone and reach out to
Awesome.
and we're gonna come over. I think we're gonna
We're gonna do this. Well, again,
we're
I
gonna
want to
do
thank
it.
you so much for coming on to this. Thank you for supporting me for this COVID session thing. This only became possible because of what's going on. And again, it's our duty here to give us information, and the information you gave us. Thank you so much. We're so excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much, Gisela. We'll be seeing you
Thank
soon,
you.
girl.
Bye.
That's awesome. Awesome. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Infectious disease doctor from multiple locations here in Los Angeles. Awesome person, awesome breakdown, and information that she gave us. Go back to it, rewind if you want to see information later. What she gave us is golden. This is basically basis off her life, her work. She does on a daily basis. These hospitals are really taking a big hit. Now, why are these hospitals taking a big hit? Well, from our response. There is a lot of controversy in how we should be responding, how we should be dealing with this pandemic. Well, I have a big opinion on this too. So do other people that I know. But I think we're going to have this special segment coming up right now to help you answer this question first. And none other than our youth is going to be explaining this for you. We had this young man on the show before. He is an amazing young man, talented, smart, debate team, the whole nine. But we're just going to call him Gabriel. Now, Gabriel's going to come on a new segment called Getting Schooled by a High Schooler, and he is going to explain to us why is it important to have a federal response versus state to state. So go ahead and let's run the video, Eric. All right, Eric, do it. All right, guys, this is our first segment.
Trump has taken a hands-off approach to COVID-19, leaving it up to essentially a state-to-state basis when it comes to setting guidelines and response. And while it may sound like a good idea to not have Trump in charge of coronavirus, the state-by-state approach has been a nightmare. One of the problems with letting each state handle COVID-19 in its own way is that one state with a poor response screws over all of the other states. So let's say, for example, California is doing everything in its power to get rid of COVID-19, but one of its neighbors, Arizona, is not doing so well at getting rid of COVID-19. Well, there would be nothing stopping all of the infected people from Arizona coming over to California and reinfecting our state, because the Constitution permits free travel between the states. And while there may be some constitutional leeway for quarantining visitors before they come into the state, it would be practically impossible to do because we don't have state by state border security. So, unless we want to build a huge wall around California and every other state for that matter, we need a federalized response. Even if every single state did the best job it could at controlling coronavirus, the federal government could still do a hell of a lot better. States lack the massive funding and federal health programs like the CDC that the federal government has. These federal programs are better equipped and better qualified at creating and enforcing plans that could get this virus under control. such as more testing, stages for reopening, or a national mask mandate. What's more, the federal government, unlike state governments, has the power to invoke the Defense Production Act. Invoking this act basically allows the federal government to tell businesses and manufacturers what types of goods to produce, like masks, respirators, or hospital beds. Trump invoked this act way back in March when we only had a few thousand cases. Now that we have over 4 million cases, however, Trump has left the private sector and states to basically fend for themselves. A stronger federalized response that utilized the Defense Production Act to manufacture PPE, hospital beds, and other essential goods would be a much more surefire way at preventing the spread of corona and getting it under control in a much quicker timescale. Using state governments instead of the federal government to fight corona would be like if Iron Man tried to fist fight Thanos even when his Iron Man suit was laying right there. Don't believe me? Well, our lack of a strong federal response has had some more than obvious results. And that's not just because we've had more testing. In July, testing increased by 37%, but cases increased by 194%. So quite clearly, the state-by-state response just isn't working. And that is not fake news. We need a federalized response. And you've just been schooled by a high schooler.
Oh! 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 What were you doing in high school? You probably had your finger in the wrong places and you didn't even figure out what was going on. Yes, you have just been schooled by a high schooler. The information that this young man popped out today was amazing. The Defense Acts. Most of you don't know this because the last time we used this was World War II. And this is how we manufacture so many goods and all these things done. Look at the testing result, 194%. Amazing, right? This is the stuff we need to know, we need to learn. Thank you so much, Gabriel, joining our segment and the team. You got schooled by a high schooler. Now, my final thoughts. What is happening lately in the news is a second shutdown is basically imminent or in the loom, as most people are discussing whether or not California and the entire U.S. actually should be shut down again for a second time. Like the young man just said, there's over 4 million cases now being reported. A second wave is probably now. Who knows what it is, but will we get shut down again? My final thought on that is we should do it right. We should do it properly, take care of your businesses, especially the small ones. Stop bailing out the corporations. Give people direct cash for what they need to do to sustain for everything else and the last part of the time. Please wear your freaking mask. If you don't have access to mask and you want some customized mask, call us up. We can take care of you here. We can get you all the sports from the city, Dodgers, Lakers, Clippers. We'll even get the Kings, because you know I'm a Kings fan. But if you need masks like this, double filtered, which they need to be, we can help you get those too so you're safe. We're going to have next week's schedule up. It's going to be amazing. I want to thank Gisela so much for today on information. Gabriel, got schooled by a high schooler. Awesome segment. We're going to have more stuff for you coming up too. And we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us tonight at the sessions. Peace.